If you've ever wondered why there isn't more content focused on K-pop artists and the music itself, not just simple news or gossip, you've come to the right place. Welcome to B-Side LP Bar, the podcast that explores the true messages artists embed in the B-sides beyond K-pop title tracks. Hello, I'm your host, Hai. Some of you may already know me from Instagram, while others might be meeting me for the first time on YouTube. It's great to have you all here. On Instagram and TikTok, I've been creating content that looks at K-pop issues from a fresh perspective, offering not definite answers, but open perspectives. There's only one reason I do this, so that you and I can go beyond being simple K-pop fans and become people who can read the world with a broader perspective through K-pop. And the reason I started B-Side LP Bar podcast is actually simpler than you might think. It's because of DMs from my Instagram followers. Whenever I posted reels, I would receive long messages, your thoughts, interpretations, and deeper questions. As I read them and engaged in conversations, I realized something. This isn't a story that can be finished in 30 seconds. In fact, I spent days researching and writing long plans just to create a single 30-second video. Then I keep compressing it. The result is short-form content you see. But the more I repeated that process, the more one thought kept coming back. This isn't something that should be shortened. It's something that needs to be fully unpacked. Even in long-form content, there's already an overflow of familiar album introductions, sensational news, and quick reaction content. But the kind of content we want, content that deeply reflects on K-pop artists and the messages within their music, is surprisingly rare. There isn't enough space for us to explore together the question, why was this music created? Based on the need, I began asking myself countless questions, not what is visible, but what is not. Where do K-pop artists truly express what they want to say? Among many things, what I choose to focus on is not the title track, but the B-sides. Title tracks are made to reach as many people as possible, but B-sides are different. They are the space where artists most honestly express their direction and message. More often than not, the true voices of the artists we love are contained within these B-sides. So in this podcast, I will share my own new perspective centered not on simple news or gossip, but on the artist and the music itself. Beyond K-pop title tracks, this is the podcast where we explore the true messages artists embed in their B-sides. Now, let's begin the first episode. Did you know that the number 18.4 million is actually quite meaningful? On March 21 at Gwanghwamun Square in Seoul, the BTS The Comeback Live Arirang performance took place. This stage was broadcast live to 190 countries around the world via Netflix. About 18.4 million people watched it simultaneously. To me, this isn't just a view count. It means that people all over the world were looking at the same moment together. The B-side we'll be discussing in the first episode of this podcast is Body to Body from BTS Arirang album. Have you ever heard the phrase, born in Korea, play for the world? This is a massive slogan that covered the exterior of Kyobo Live Insurance Building at Gwanghwamun in Seoul. Why am I bringing this up? Because the members said they created this Arirang album almost like a new beginning. More precisely, they said it captures their direction moving forward. And I felt that this praise connects to the album at a certain point. What's especially symbolic is the location where this message was displayed, right in the heart of the Gwanghwamun. It's an area where embassies and media organizations from various countries are gathered. It's also a central hub of Korea where travelers from all over the world pass through. A message that begins here naturally spreads across the world. It's almost like sending Wi-Fi to the world from Korea. In fact, BTS has used this place to deliver messages before. During the pandemic, they shared comfort and hope. And this time, they left messages like, "Born in Korea, play for the world." I felt that this message comes through especially strongly in the song Body to Body. How did you hear this song? In their comeback interview, BTS said this. They wanted to capture the team's new direction and goals in this album. They also shared that they aimed to include the message they wanted to convey as artists. If I were to see this album as a book, I think Body to Body is like its prologue. A prologue isn't just an introduction. It sets the perspective through which the story should be read. It compresses the emotions and message of the entire narrative in advance. Through it, the audience gains a framework for interpreting what comes next. In that sense, this track felt like a key to understanding the songs that follow. I felt that it hints at what BTS ultimately wants to say moving forward. So now, let's look at the B-side Body to Body from different perspectives and draw out the message BTS is trying to convey. First, borderlessness. In the song, there's a lyric, 두 눈을 감지 않을 이 밤, 솟구치는 결의의 마음. The word 결의 here really stuck with me with a sense of grandeur. It's a pure Korean word, not derived from Chinese characters, and it originally means nation or ethnic group. But in this song, I felt that its scope expands much further. And because BTS is the one delivering this message, it resonates even more deeply. The reason I believe the meaning of 결의 expands in this song comes from another lyric. I need whole stadium jump. The ones BTS wants to connect with Body to Body are not limited to a specific nation. It's everyone gathered in that stadium from all over the world. This idea becomes even clearer in the line. Somebody like you, everybody like you. In the end, it sounds like a message that anyone can belong to, one shared people. And what stands out is the action BTS wants to share with those gathered people. 달에 닿게 손에 손, 너와 나. The moment I heard this, it reminded me of 강강술래. 강강술래 is a traditional Korean activity where people hold hands from a circle and sing and dance under the full moon. What's important is that it's not just a simple game. I found myself focusing on the specific historical context in which people performed 강강술래. In the past, it was a moment when people living under oppression could feel a sense of liberation. It was an experience only possible when people came together. In that way, I felt this song plays a similar role. The energy grows when we are together, not alone. It's a moment of connection that transcends boundaries. The praise Body to Body doesn't just mean physical contact. It represents a state where people are connected beyond all boundaries. In the past, it was a cultural activity enjoyed by a single ethnic group, and more specifically by women. If our ancestors could hear a song like this, one that now invites people from all over the world to come together and share in it, what kind of reaction would they have? At the same time, this message isn't presented in a heavy or overly serious way. Historically, 강강술래 wasn't a sorrowful act. It was expressed with joy and freedom. In the same way, BTS seems to telling us, let's move beyond all the boundaries that divide us, not just to connect, but to enjoy together. In fact, it's said that accepting those who are different from us is not easy for humans. It's instinctual. From a neuroscientific perspective, when we encounter unfamiliar groups, the amygdala reacts first, making us feel caution and resistance. But music and dance are different. The moment we share a rhythm, something changes, hormones like oxytocin are released. Because of that, trust and bonding with others can form quickly, even unintentionally. That's why I see this moment as one where beyond our physical bodies, our souls meet. It's like something happens in our brain, like an unknown force in a vast universe, causing our hearts to race and our bodies to move regardless of our will. Now, let's move on to the second insight into the message BTS is trying to convey. The second is technique. What I especially love about this song was the intro. It naturally reminded me of Pansori. The opening begins with a low, almost murmured I need, and the atmosphere felt somewhat sorrowful and lyrical. But as the song progresses, the mood completely shifts, like Samulori. It gradually gains strength, the rhythm comes alive, and the energy rises as if it's about to burst. Of course, I'm not a music expert, but that's how it felt to me on a sensory level. The structure, moving from Han in the beginning to Hung in the later half, felt very much like Korean tradition itself. And to me, this is also a uniquely Korean form of technique. In fact, I think Korean tradition is, in many ways, technique itself. For example, Pansori is a musical form that elevates emotion through a wide range of techniques. What's interesting is that many stories begin with the tragic narratives, but are ultimately sublimated into Hung, a sense of excitement and release. I see this as a kind of optimism unique to Korean tradition, and interestingly, it continues even today. Even in difficult situations, people don't completely collapse. Instead, they gather, laugh, sing, and endure together. From IMF to COVID-19, and even during the impeachment related to President Yoon Material Law Declaration, this pattern continues. To me, this resembles the very technique found in Pansori. At this point, one thought came to mind. Perhaps this uniquely Korean sense of technique is not just a method of expression, but a bridge that connects people. One of its key characteristics is that it allows people to share the full spectrum of human emotions: joy, anger, sorrow, and happiness. And I think this is ultimately what brings people together to sing and dance. In that sense, Body to Body also feels like a song built on this kind of technique. That's why it feels like a song that can make anyone, as a human being, experience these emotions and through that, naturally become connected. Lastly, what I felt most strongly while listening to this song is that it's not just music, it's a new word. That's because it doesn't simply capture the emotions of the present moment. Rather, it feels like it holds a structure where the past, the present, and even the not yet arrived future overlap simultaneously. As we discussed earlier, this song contains the emotional depth of Pansori and the rhythm of 사물놀이, and at the same time, modern sounds and a future-oriented direction. Sensibilities from different eras coexist within a single space, not clashing, but flowing together naturally. I found this point especially important because we usually understand time as something that simply flows. The past has passed, the present is now, and the future is something that hasn't arrived yet. But this song breaks the structure. Emotions from the past come alive on top of present rhythms, and layered above them is a sense of the future, creating an entirely new perception of time. At this point, the song started to feel similar to a four-dimensional world. We live in a three-dimensional space, so we can't directly perceive the first dimension. But in the concept of the first dimension, time exists as an additional axis. In other words, the past, present, and the future are not separate. They coexist within a single structure. The world this song creates feels the same way. It doesn't exist in just one moment, but as a state where emotions, rhythms, and ideas from multiple points in time overlap. We can't see it with our eyes, but we can clearly feel it through the music. And the moment we step into it, we begin to perceive the world differently. Boundaries blur. The distinction between self and others weakens. Even our sense of time becomes less rigid. I think this is where the true power of the song reveals itself. It goes beyond simply having a good melody or performance. It becomes an experience that momentarily allows us to let go of the frameworks through which we usually perceive the world. It lets us step away, even briefly, from the structures that divide us, time, boundaries, identity. That's why I connect to this song to the idea of liberation. Not liberation from oppression, but liberation from the structures we've unconsciously accepted as given. And that kind of liberation isn't possible alone. It becomes possible only when we are connected within the music, within the rhythm. Just like 강강술래. Perhaps this is the kind of music BTS wants to create, not just something to listen to, but something that allows you to experience an entire world. Music that connects people within it and gently leads them into a freer state. Do you like K-pop? Some people may prefer specific artists, while others, like me, enjoy K-pop as a whole. What makes you like it? If I had to share just one reason why I like K-pop, I feel like the K-pop industry has just passed a major inflection point and is now at the moment where new ideas are about to surge. There are relatively fewer fixed boundaries, which means the possibilities for creation are almost limitless. For example, Korean and English can be naturally mixed. Western and Eastern sounds can coexist in the same track. Artists from different cultural backgrounds can come together in one song. Even traditional rhythms or instruments can be incorporated into modern music. In that sense, K-pop feels less like a single genre and more like a platform where diverse elements continuously blend and expand. And I think one of the groups that best proves this potential is BTS. So if I had to describe the appeal of K-pop in one sentence, I would say this: just listen to BTS. So how did you like today's first episode? While preparing this episode, I listened to BTS songs a lot, but interestingly, I didn't get tired of them at all. In fact, the more I listened, the more I liked them. What kind of characteristics do these songs have? I'm also curious about the thoughts that came to your mind while listening to today's episode. Feel free to share them in the comments. This episode is available on YouTube and Spotify. And I also post short form videos with unique K-pop perspectives on Instagram, so feel free to check that out as well. Thank you to everyone who joined me for the start of my very first episode. I'll be back with more fun and in-depth stories. Bye!